There was a young Jewish woman named Esther, gentle and kind, living quietly with her uncle Mordecai in the city of Shushan. Her home was simple, humble, and filled with love and care. Every morning, Esther would rise before dawn, helping with chores, preparing meals, tending to the needs of those around her. Even in the midst of simplicity, she carried herself with grace and dignity. She often paused to pray, lifting her heart to God, asking for guidance, courage, and wisdom, not knowing what her future held. When King Ahasuerus sought a new queen, young women from all corners of the kingdom were brought to the grand palace of Shushan. Among them was Esther, a humble and faithful Jewish girl, walking with quiet dignity through the marble halls and golden corridors. She had never imagined standing in the presence of a king, yet her spirit remained calm and her heart was full of hope. The king, surrounded by his advisors and courtiers, noticed Esther immediately. There was something in her eyes, a quiet grace and wisdom that made her stand apart from all others. Her beauty was not in her face, but in her manner. But one day, while sitting at the city gate of Shushan, Mordecai, Esther's wise and faithful uncle, overheard a grave plot. Haman, the king's powerful advisor, was scheming to destroy all the Jews in the kingdom. His heart was full of pride and hatred, and his plan threatened the lives of innocent people. Mordecai's face grew pale with worry. He knew he had to act quickly. He sent a trusted messenger to Queen Esther, urging her to listen and to understand the weight of the moment. "Do not think that you alone will escape in the king's palace," Mordecai said, his voice steady but full of concern. "If you remain silent at this time, deliverance for the Jews will come from another place." Esther listened intently, her heart racing, knowing that the safety of her people rested on her courage. She realized that her position was a queen, and it is not only for her comfort, but for glory. After hearing Mordecai's urgent message, Esther knew that her moment of destiny had come. She called for the Jews of Susa and fasted and prayed together for 3 days. In quiet corners of her home and palace chambers, Esther and her maidservants knelt, lifting their voices to God. Their prayers were full of hope and courage and trust. On the 3rd day, dressed in her finest royal gown and adorned with her crown, Esther approached the king. Every step was heavy with risk, for the law of the land declared that anyone who entered the king's inner court uninvited could be put to death. Yet she walked in with faith. Esther, knowing the time was right, prepared a special banquet and invited King Ahasuerus and Haman, the king's advisor. The grand hall of the palace sparkled and with golden pillars, intricate carpets, and soft lights that reflected from crystal chandeliers. Tables were filled with exquisite dishes and cups of wine, each carefully arranged to honor kings and guests. The air was filled with a mix of anticipation and elegance, and every detail reflected the king's wisdom and grace. Esther spoke to the king with gentle words and tact, drawing him into conversation, while Haman, proud and confident, smiled unaware of the trap being laid for him. The queen's plan was subtle but brilliant. She did not reveal everything at once. She created an atmosphere of warmth and hospitality, giving the king reason to listen closely to her next words. Every gesture, every look, and every word was deliberate. The banquet was more than a meal, it was a stage for courage, strategy, and the beginning of justice for her people. Esther's heart was steady, her mind clear, and her faith unwavering. She knew that her careful preparation and boldness would soon save her people from Haman's evil plots. On the second day of the banquet, Queen Esther stood with quiet confidence, her eyes meeting the king's. The hall was filled with nobles and advisors, all unaware of the truth that was about to be revealed. With calm determination, Esther spoke, "O king, if it pleases the king, let my people be spared. Haman has plotted to destroy the Jews in all the provinces." The room fell silent. Haman's face paled, and the king was enraged, rose, and left the hall for a moment to gather his thoughts. The tension in the palace was thick, yet Esther remained composed. Her voice was steady and full of courage. When the king returned, he demanded justice be done. Haman's evil plot, which had threatened an entire people, was exposed in front of all the nobles and officials. On the second day of the banquet, Esther stood with confidence. And then Haman was thrown in the same pit that he had dug for the Jews. In that moment, the young queen showed that one person brave and faithful could change the destiny of an entire nation. Her actions will be remembered for generations as a testament to courage and divine purpose. Joy and laughter filled the streets of Shushan. Men, women, and children danced, sang, and gave thanks for the miraculous deliverance of the Jewish people. Colorful banners waved in the breeze, and the city was alive with music, feasting, and celebration. Families embraced each other, sharing stories of faith and hope, grateful for God's protection. Mordecai was honored by the king for his wisdom and faithfulness, while Queen Esther's bravery and courage were praised by all who had witnessed her bold actions. The people established a festival, a lasting tradition to remember the day of deliverance, to celebrate God's faithfulness, and to pass down the story of courage and divine intervention to future generations. The streets sparkled with joy, the palaces glowed with light, and the hearts of the people were filled with gratitude and hope. Esther's action had not only saved lives, but had created a lasting legacy of faith, courage, and celebration for all to remember. Queen Esther stood gracefully on the balcony of the grand palace, looking out over the city of Shushan as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. She reflected on the journey she had taken from a humble Jewish girl, living quietly with her uncle Mordecai, to a courage queen who had saved her people through faith, wisdom, and bold actions. Perhaps you are where you are for such a time as this. Like Esther, your courage, your faith, and your willingness to act with wisdom may serve a purpose far greater than yourself. Life may test you, fear may surround you, but when you trust in God and act with bravery, miracles can happen. One person's courage can change the fate of many. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to our channel. We love you. We remain Oluwadara Nature and Stories. Once again, thank you.